Alrighty.
And we are now recording. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your patience. It's 6:10. This is the Executive Committee of Community Board 1 in Manhattan. My name is Tammy Meltzer. I'm the chair of Community Board 1. For our executive committee today, we've got a fairly robust agenda. I see we have capital and budget expense first, but I'm going to hold that. I'm going to allow Warren Street Cargo Bike Corral presentation by DOT. If they are all here, we're going to start with that. Then we'll go to 52 William. We'll do budget and capital expense, and then committee reports at the end if there's any highlights.
Yeah, good.
Perfect. So, Lucian, can we get DOT?
So we have Sherry Gold here, who's part of the DOT program that I think is piloting this. But Sherry, if you would, just let me know who else I should pull over into the panelist section.
So is Jennifer from the Manhattan office on?
I do not see Jennifer.
Either Jennifer?
I don't see either.
No.
Jennifer.
Okay, so Eugenia Tang and Jeremy Safran would also would be leading the presentation.
All right. And I'll keep my eye out for both Jennifers.
Okay. Jeremy and Eugenia are both on?
Yep, they're on.
Okay,
Hi.
great.
Hi. Yeah, so it's going to be,
Definitely.
oh yeah, it's going to be Kimberly from the Manhattan office representing us tonight rather than Jennifer. Is there a Kimberly listed?
Rain Court?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, great. So which one of you would like to have their presentation privileges?
That's Eugenia.
Hi, thanks. Sorry, I tried messaging you guys, but I'm on.
Okay, Eugenia, I'm going to pass over the presenter controls to you.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. This will be a brief presentation. My name is Eugenia Tang. I'm a project manager for the Flexibility Unit at DOT. Happy to be here to present and update you about our proposal for a cargo bike corral to be installed mid-block on Warren Street in front of one of the exits of Whole Foods between West Street and Greenwich Street. This here is an image showing the cargo bikes operating out of the Whole Foods on Houston Street using the space at the curb without a cargo bike corral. But just like this location, Whole Foods on Warren Street is working to use cargo bikes for their local deliveries as a pilot participant. They can load, unload, and stage their deliveries at the curb, but having a dedicated space with cargo bike corrals can improve safety and the efficiency of their overall operations.
Eugenia, if I may interrupt real quick. So Eugenia has a whole presentation for us. Some of you may have been in the audience when we gave the presentation a couple of weeks ago to the committee. How much of this do you want us to present? We can just tell you what we've done since we last met with CB1, or we can go through the proposal in its entirety. Whatever information you need to make your decision, we're happy to provide.
I think because not everyone is on our transportation committee and you're looking for a resolution potentially from us, that you should go for all of it. Succinctly, but all of it.
All right, sounds good. Eugenia,
Please.
go right ahead.
Sounds good. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, we had presented to the Transportation and Street Activity Permits Committee about this proposal. So I just wanted to give a brief update about what to those that were there, but also for keeping everyone up to speed as to what we've been up to the past 2 weeks. So we were able to get contacts for the school nearby, PS 234, the residential buildings, Transportation Alternative, and Bike NYC to send out an email to inform them all about the project with a letter of notification along with a copy of this presentation. We were also able to go out onto Warren Street to do an in-person outreach. Got to speak with a couple of folks and left hard copies of the letter of notification and also the presentation as well. Last night, we also presented to the bike advocacy groups in the community bicycle working group meeting where Transportation Alternatives and Bike NYC was also present as well. So they're aware of this project. So let me jump right into the presentation now. And this is where I'll start off by giving a brief background of what the Commercial Cargo Bicycle Pilot Program is. And then I'll talk about what we're proposing to install as a new cargo bike corral through the Bike Corral program to improve the operations of the pilot. I'll then walk through the proposed location and design of the cargo bike corral and talk about some of the next steps. So a bit of how we got here is that back in December of last year, we held a mayoral press event announcing the launch of the Commercial Cargo Bicycle Pilot Program. This pilot allows companies to partner with DOT in making the switch from using the typical trucks and vans to using the zero emissions cargo bicycles for a safer, more sustainable, and an efficient way of delivering goods in dense neighborhoods like in Lower Manhattan. So we launched a program with Amazon, DHL, and UPS with about 100 bikes at the time, and have since grown to now also have FedEx, Reef Technology, and NPD Logistics on board as well. So now we're looking at over 200 bikes that are currently operating in the pilot program, and it's continuing to grow. So we had initially stated that this would be a 6-month pilot, but it's been extended. This program is managed by the Freight Mobility Unit in DOT, but we work very closely with other agencies and divisions and teams. So we work very closely with NYPD, DOT's Parking Division, Commercial Bicycles Unit, and Safety Education's team to help run the pilot smoothly. Participants of the program are given 5 guidelines, one of which the guidelines is that the participants of the pilot can load, unload, and stage their deliveries at the curb wherever commercial vehicles can. But oftentimes you'll find that these spaces are all parked up. So installing a cargo bike corral can provide a dedicated space to improve and expedite their operations safely. And some of the feedback that we got from participants already is that being able to safely get access to the curb plays a huge role in their delivery cyclists' operations. A newly designed cargo bike corral can be installed through DOT's Bike Corral program, an application-based program to provide increased bike parking capacity at the curb using these bike racks shown in the image below. These bike corrals are installed where there's a high demand for bike parking and where sidewalk space can be limited. So this can help alleviate issues like bike parking on street signs, fences, and trees to keep the sidewalk clear. So here we're looking at an aerial view of Warren Street with the curb regulations shown in color-coded blocks, the red representing the no standing anytime, the yellow representing the truck loading, and the blue representing the bus stop. So what we're looking at is installing the cargo bike corral in front of one of the exits for Whole Foods as shown in the black dashed line. So again, this will be partially occupying the truck loading zone where the pilot participants such as Whole Foods is permitted to load, unload, and stage their deliveries at the curb already. But having dedicated bike parking available with the cargo bike corral improves safety and also provides free, convenient, and short-term parking for the public to use. So taking a closer look at this drawing here to show you an example of what the cargo bike corral could potentially look like is that the space will be marked out with bike racks, flexible bollards, and markings in the side lane. These cargo bike corrals can fit up to 6 bikes on each end secured on the bike racks and have room for multiple cargo bikes to fit in the middle. The difference between a cargo bike corral and a traditional bike corral is this additional space allowed for cargo bikes to load, unload, and stage their goods safely in the space, which are not allowed to stick out of this marked out space or block the travel lane, so they can either park parallel or at an angle to the curb depending on the dimensions of the bikes. And Whole Foods will be maintaining the cargo bike corrals to ensure that they'll be clear of snow and debris and report derelict bikes. The next steps to this process here is that we're hoping that you can all vote on this since we're cutting it close to the end of DOT's implementation season. And as the holiday season is quickly approaching, we can expect an increase in deliveries. So we're hoping to install this fairly soon with continued monitoring and observations. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions now.
I have a question. This is Pat Moore. Maybe I misunderstood. So this bike corral is for Whole Foods so that they can load and unload for their deliveries?
Right, but the public can use this as well. It's not reserved for just them, but it can help facilitate and provide additional parking for all to use.
So how much of the space is allotted to Whole Foods and how much of it is public space, bike parking?
It's more like a first come, first served base, so it's not like a certain space is reserved for Whole Foods or
Okay, so Whole Foods is a private company that makes a huge profit. And so a city street is going to have part of its space they're going to get for free. They're not paying for this parking, right?
no.
That's correct. They're not paying.
Yeah. So I'm not, I mean, maybe it's me, maybe I'm crazy, but
No.
I don't
I
understand
think
why.
it's like placard parking. It's like the whole thing. It's like taking over all of our space.
Right.
Right.
Why are we giving city streets up to a private entity? I'm not sure I understand that.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. They're a participant in our cargo bike pilot program, and as part of that, our goal is to switch over from trucks, switch over from vans and other polluting vehicles that add vehicle miles traveled and create safety problems on the city streets to a delivery by cargo bike. And in order to facilitate that, we think one of the helpful tools is to have space that they can load and unload those vehicles. In doing that, we also get space for the community, and we don't think of it as like, oh, 70% of that space is Whole Food space and 30% is for people. It can be, it like Eugenia said, first come, first serve, and the racks are added bike parking for either shoppers or community residents or what have you.
So I think one of my concerns, if I'm hearing Pat correctly, is first come, first serve is, God bless who's ever coughing, is an interesting dialogue, but Amazon is there 24 hours a day. So effectively, there is no first come, first serve. It is privatized.
Right.
Well, they're
So
not there. I'll make a quick correction. They're not there 24/7. Though, point taken about them being there probably the most. But if there is,
they do deliveries before 7 a.m. So they are out doing deliveries between 5 and 7, and they deliver as late as I think 11 or midnight. So for most part, and then I would assume they have to park the bikes there, right? So, while they're working inside.
They do not get to store them overnight in this space, and that's a very clear aspect of our guidance to all pilot participants. They have to find a place off street to store their bicycles overnight. But in the process of loading, unloading, and staging, they're able to use this corral space, and it just assists in making bikes a worthier option to make some of these deliveries, which during the pandemic there is a high demand for grocery delivery with the grocery store crowding issues that are present, the lines that can form. It's just another option for people who want to avoid appearing in person to get their goods, their necessities.
But
This is Kimberly from the Manhattan office. I just want to add that they're currently occupying the sidewalk, and so they're already able to have their operations in the public right of way. This is moving them to a place where they are less in the way for pedestrians and where their operations can be smoother. And also, if you see the diagram of the setup, the space in the middle doesn't have, as far as I understand it, anywhere to lock the bikes up to. So the locks are on the sides, and so it's a little bit of a distinction between like the actual operations and where people can lock up their bikes on either side.
Just one.
I have forgotten how to raise hand on WebEx. I know on Zoom. How does one raise your hand? Participants?
I tell you what, Bruce, I promise I'll call on you. It goes Pat, Justine, Paul, Mariama, and then you.
Go ahead. Okay.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, yes, indeed.
The other part of my question is, so, I mean, I have no dog in this fight because I don't have a car, but it's taking up even more, it's taking up car space. So people who live on that block are losing another, if I'm not mistaken, another parking spot. Is that not
Sorry. Oh, quick point of correction, and you know, it's definitely a valid. It is a curbside space, but that current regulation is a truck loading zone. So yeah, instead it is not a daytime space available to.
But it becomes a space at
residents.
6 p.m.
Right.
What you're losing.
Yeah, the
What you're
nighttime,
losing
yeah.
and all day on the weekends.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
So you are losing a space.
But you're providing potentially
Time
more
restricted.
spaces for more folks to park bikes than the space that there would be allotted for vehicles.
I'll note.
You know,
I'll
I
note
think one
also. Sorry that with the conversion from vans, which is part of the current operation at that store, to cargo bikes, there you won't see vans, Amazon vans parked there occupying the spaces either during the truck loading hours or afterwards. So that it is freeing up space that used to be occupied by vans to space, you know, to a smaller space, more constrained space, because bikes are smaller, right? Yeah.
Well, how many vans are being replaced by bikes, and is the total length that you're talking? It looks like it's 5 car spots. Is that accurate?
Pretty much, yep, that's correct.
And is there no way to accommodate the cargo loading bikes during the 7 to 6 hours that you have, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., while still being able to return that space back to public use for nights and weekends?
So I think the answer is yes, but the option is that they, as part of the pilot, the participants can load and unload their bikes wherever commercial vehicles can load and unload, and they can do it in this truck loading zone once, you know, they're starting to switch their operations over. But this space is a safer space, we think, to do that operation. It's more well defined. It's more well understood by various road users. It adds parking for bikes in the community. And overall, I think it's an improvement on just leaving it a truck loading zone and having that operation occur more haphazardly in that space.
And that is a permanent build out? I'm going to go next to Justine. Just confirm that's a permanent build out. So that becomes a bike loading spot, period. As long as they need it, as long as they're doing delivery, as long as they're active, because there is no, it then is no longer a loading zone, quote unquote.
Well, yeah, it's a loading zone for bikes, I guess you could say. But yeah, permanent in the sense.
There's no finite hours. It's not like it's 7 to 6. It becomes a 24-hour bike storage, correct?
That's correct. And permanent in the sense that, you know, we would install it using, you know, our materials, but those materials aren't made out of concrete. Those materials could, after monitoring and after, you know, continued observation, if we really thought it was a failure, it could be ripped out.
Justine, you're next.
Thank
Pat,
you.
you mind if I put your hand down?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Can you do it?
I'm putting
maybe,
mine
if
down
not,
just so
Lucy
you can do it. Yeah, so there it is.
Okay, Justine, go for it.
Thank you. So you say it could be the cargo bikes or other bikes. What other bikes would park there? I'm confused. I mean, me on my regular bike that I'm going to ride, why would I park there? Or what benefit is it to me to park there versus something else that's safer?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. It depends on, I guess, if this is closer to what you're trying to go to. I mean that in that the racks on the side here will look like racks that you would park your regular bike against any other.
So no, I mean, when I say safer, I guess it's safer from traffic because it's somewhat removed, but it's not safe from being stolen. So it's
right,
not,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, no, I don't see the benefit to the community particularly because you can park your bike anyplace from that regard. And then so you're losing 5 parking spaces. I would reiterate that that's an issue, and then I concede my time. Thank you.
I think Mariama is next.
So I agree with Pat and made a similar comment at the previous meeting, which is why I was also one of the members that wanted to make sure that the community really had an opportunity to attend and to hear this presentation for themselves. I live on the east side and don't think it's fair for me to necessarily decide what they would prefer. But do agree that a loss of parking spaces in Lower Manhattan is really a travesty because we have very few. You can go to other neighborhoods, even neighborhoods that are considered to be more heavily trafficked, and find spaces that are alternate side. You know, they're all over the Upper West and East sides. But down here, we have very few spaces that are parking is available all day. And we have very few spaces that parking becomes available at 6. In most cases, if it becomes available at all, it's 7. So to be saying you're going to take 5 or 6, it was 6 at the last meeting, of those spaces away from residents who may need them, whose children may be, you know, going into the downtown community center, because that's what I used to use. And that's why I know the traffic rules over there. Although I live on the east side, I would have to park to pick up and drop off my kids or to attend some sort of something that they were doing there. And if we lose those spaces and to the community, and that's not their preference, I would have a very difficult time voting for that. So if I don't hear from enough people from outside, I'm going to have to abstain on this thing, because I do really see a problem with taking potentially from citizens, civilians, taxpayers, you know, many of whom are back at work, and then they come home and they can't find a place to park. And it's so that, you know, one of the richest people in the world, or the richest person in the world at this point, I believe, can have free parking. He can afford to build a bike rack, you know, or whatever else is necessary for his customers to be able to park bikes or cars. He should have built the garage when he was putting that place up. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Mariama.
I do want
to
to reiterate. Yeah, I know that it's not per se a question, but I will say that we did the in-person outreach as requested at the last meeting, and we went door to door on the block. We talked to the buildings on that block. We talked to the Manhattan Youth Center. We sent letters in the presentation to the school, and I think that the reception was generally positive. Kimberly can weigh in further, but Manhattan Youth Center especially saw the change as a positive change. The residential buildings didn't have as much direct feedback about this, but you know, I think that they were happy to be notified.
Okay, Bruce. I think there was somebody before Bruce, but all the hands went down, so I apologize. Whoever it is, I'll get back to you.
It was Paul.
Paul. Okay. Sorry, Bruce. You got to wait. Paul goes first.
It's fine.
Thank you, Paul.
Just a couple of questions. So the current regs for that space are what? No standing Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., trucks loading and unloading, that kind of reg?
Eugenia, could you go back? Yes, I think the answer is yes. Yes.
Okay. So, and is there no concern about trucks double parking on the street if they lose any loading zones in that area? Is that something you've accounted for?
That's a very fair question. We've done observations on this block. We feel like the loading zone is somewhat underutilized, and we also recognize that in switching over from vans loading to bikes loading, that the space that was needed for truck loading can now be partly taken for the bike loading because it's a direct replacement of that same operation.
Jeremy, did you also say that they're already parking in that, they're already using that space in the roadway for bikes rather than for vans?
Well, there aren't bikes directly operating out of the Tribeca location. They are, any ones that you'd see here are being dispatched out of Houston Street or the Chelsea location. But yeah, the operation now is vans and walkers. The vans, the idea is to replace the vans with bikes.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Bruce, you're next.
Yeah, I have a few questions. First of all, is this a fait accompli? And despite a resolution one way or another, you're going ahead with this as DOT usually does?
I think Sherry and Kim, if you want to chime in there.
So typically the Bike Corral program does require that the community board vote to approve. So the
Okay.
answer would be no.
Thank you. Okay, and that's good. And so, as you may or may not know, when Officer Lee, Rick Lee, was our community liaison from the 1st Precinct, he negotiated, he's a great guy who's retired, he negotiated a deal with Fresh Direct that gave them unencumbered 24-hour usage of the east side of West Broadway between Leonard and Franklin. And 24 hours a day, they have a series of trucks parking there, spewing diesel emissions, and the refrigerator trucks are on, from which they disperse food to the neighborhood. That's a private entity. They have never paid for that space. We essentially gave them a free warehouse on the street. They took over the street, and we've given them a free warehouse for 8 years. I've never understood it. Every other small business person has to go out and rent a warehouse or a garage. We're doing the same thing now for Whole Foods. I don't know if either of you lives in the community and really understands the issues here. And I'm saying that as a disgruntled and angry resident of Worth Street, where we've been suffering for years. So are you aware of the Fresh Direct situation, for instance? Are you aware of this?
Not specifically, but I understand where you're coming from 100%. Fresh Direct trucks are sort of these mobile warehouses as they treat them. The point about using the street is well taken. I think one of the things that we're aiming for here is to take vans and trucks off the road. Actually, this enables the cargo bike operation, and cargo bikes are obviously non-polluting. It's not as if the operation is created by the addition of the space. The operation already exists, but it's accomplished using more polluting vehicles than this cargo bike corral would switch us over to. I think that's a net. I would consider that a net environmental benefit. We're here in part so you can decide whether it's a net community benefit. So that's really, I think, what we're looking for.
Well, the latter sentence is I think a fair analysis. Everything before that was theoretical and, to my mind, tautological. But you're trying to make your case. Since the Zero Vision program, or whatever it's called, you realize that there have been more accidents than before. I would argue, as a pedestrian and a driver and a friend of many bikers, and I mean mechanical bikers, not motorcycle bikers, the streets have gotten more dangerous because they have not been widened. New York City was not laid out that way. And there are so many uses that DOT is trying to provide for. The streets now, by and large, where there are all of these multiple uses, commercial, vehicular, buses, bike lanes, new pedestrian areas, it looks, they painted in such a way that it looks like someone on psilocybin actually did the layout. And it's so confusing and dangerous with various modalities interacting with each other. And this is just one more. I don't think, no offense to you, I don't think either of you really has a granular sense of the neighborhood. Let me give you one instance that doesn't
Bruce?
relate to this. Yes.
Three people have their hands up besides you, so succinct, please.
Okay.
I think you've made your point.
We have had issues with Worth Street for 4 years. We had one guarantee from DOT. There have been so many changes at DOT that over these years of work that there's no institutional continuity. The new people don't know what the old people promised in writing. And to me, this whole concept is objectionable, and it's not because I necessarily drive more than anyone else. It's just enough input on our streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I have Susan, Michael, Francoeur. Then I have a question. If it's not asked by either of them, then we'll go to Detta and members of the public. Susan, take it away. Okay, we'll go to Michael, Francoeur. We'll come back to Susan.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
No,
Yes.
Oh, there you go, Susan.
Well,
go for it.
Okay,
go for it, Susan.
I'm going. Listen to me. The trucks and the vans are still going to come. It's disingenuous for you, as reporting to us, to say that. And I take offense with it. I just want you to know it's not going to happen. These cargo trucks deliver. They deliver in front of my building instead of bikes, because they're delivering during this pandemic time tremendous amounts of groceries. So to tell us that the trucks now are going to be in a lane where cars come and go, that this is going to avoid that is not correct. And we're not silly, and our streets are crowded. And I find this, I'm very offended by it. That's it.
We're representing the facts, I think, as truthfully as we can, and the operation will switch over from van to cargo bike. That's as much as we know, and that's.
Do you have an agreement? So before I go to Michael and then Betty and then Detta, do you have one of the things is that building that Whole Foods is in has a loading dock. They used to load their vans in the loading dock. We know this because there are several public bus stops right over there. And they used to have the loading vans all over, I want to call it Murray Street, that's there. I'm not certain if anything other than convenience purposes, they chose to move their whole operation, or maybe they don't have to pay for the loading dock, but there's some reason that they stopped using the loading dock for the building that Whole Foods is in and focused on the street. So that's a question that I'd like to understand. Why aren't they using the loading dock for their vans? If it's simply because it's easier to where they have it currently on Warren Street, well, then we've just made I think we're using public dollars to enhance the profitability of a private company while removing public assets. I am all for cargo bikes, don't get me wrong. I think it's an amazing service. I do have an issue with how it is done, and why, if this is the project that's being done, why aren't they using the truck loading zone right now for the bikes? There's nothing preventing them from doing it, is there?
That's true. They can use the truck loading zone according to the the regulations in our pilot. The cargo bike corral though is a safe, more protected space, and that would really unlock the cargo bike operations at this site for them. And
Do you have a guarantee that do you have a guarantee from them that they will no longer use vans or allow their truck deliveries on that street?
We have a guarantee that the van based deliveries would switch over to cargo bike in November if we could get it installed. That's correct.
Do you have a guarantee they will not allow their trucks, because they no longer have a truck loading zone, to double park on Warren Street?
That question we haven't raised specifically, but if that would be desirable for the board, we could ask that question.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, great.
Just to clarify, also, the truck loading in front of their building is not specifically for them, right? There's truck loading for that longer length, and it's not specifically designated for each business.
Right, and it can be hard to tell. I mean, in the sense that the vehicles are branded, it becomes pretty obvious. But we fully understand that request. As far as the loading zone or the loading bay and the loading dock is concerned, they've stated that that is primarily for incoming goods, and there are enough goods coming into the store currently that it is essentially completely occupying the loading dock, and there are large amounts of goods that need to be refilled in store. And then the outgoing goods and outgoing food deliveries, of which the volumes have greatly increased, would be at least partly accommodated by the corral, along with the other uses that the corral allows for.
Okay, moving on. After Susan was Michael, then Betty, then Detta.
Great, thanks, Tammy. So one thing that came up in the conversation that we had in our committee meeting was that the office has received complaints from residents complaining about of vehicles in that truck loading zone. So this proposal was viewed in a way that it could possibly address those concerns. And I was wondering if Lucian might be able to elaborate on the complaints that he has gotten in the office. And then I was going to just ask DOT to see if they heard any of that when they were doing their outreach.
So, hi everyone. This is Lucian. I'm the district manager. In the past, I have received complaints about the Amazon delivery vans idling in the street in the area, and in fact, I had to call up through multiple different numbers through Whole Foods, trying to find someone who I could speak to with decision-making authority to really register an actual complaint and try to work with them to reduce the amount of idling, which they had tried to do, and it seemed to help. But the absence of complaints is by no means evidence of the issue disappearing completely. So I can't say for sure that they fixed all their idling issues, but they certainly did for some stretch of time. But any vans, if there's no access to the curb, will likely be idling. And unfortunately, the DEP idling bounty program is not pervasively used enough to cause enough economic impact for people not to do such a thing. But I do expect any vans that are being used for deliveries to idle because we rarely have curb access in this district.
Great, thanks, Lucian.
Thank you, Lucian.
DOT, did you guys hear anything about idling concerns when you guys were doing your outreach? Or did that topic come up?
Not directly. Eugenia, do you recall any of those instances?
No. They were mostly just positive feedback for having additional bike parking available.
And one thing I'll say is maybe we didn't get as direct a line to residents as we would want to. I mean, the residential buildings, you go through the person behind the front desk, the building manager, and you get their opinion, but perhaps not the actual occupants. And hopefully some of them are on this call.
I could have sworn we asked you to have a notice sent to ask the management company, not the management company's perspective, but to email the residents in the building.
We sent that out.
Because having just the, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Michael, do you have any other questions or comments?
I do have a comment, but I'll let everyone go around before I speak.
Okay. Betty?
I want to remind community board members that Vision Zero and the New York Climate Leadership Act are real and have goals that we need to meet. In order to do that, we need to reduce the number of cars and other vehicles on the road. We also need to deal with Vision Zero. We also need fewer cars and more sustainable transportation. The reality is only a minority of people have the funds to afford their own personal vehicles. So in speaking about who deserves to own the road and who doesn't, car owners is a big question. Why do they get space and nobody else in the community does? So let's not act as if we're talking about equity when we're talking about car owners getting their personal spaces preserved for them, because it's not exactly true. In my neighborhood, yes, there are people with cars. Many of them have their own parking spaces and do not use them around the neighborhood. What they want is they want less pollution, so they would like the zero emission bikes. They're very for that. We also would like to have smaller vehicles making the deliveries in our neighborhood. So in fact, the benefits are much bigger than just who does or doesn't get them on that particular stretch of Warren Street. It's also who's making the deliveries and puts up with them around the neighborhood. And I think there was a very big push for it. Let's get rid of the vans. Let's get rid of the staging trucks that other companies use. This space is not only going to be used by Whole Foods, but can be used by other companies. I'm hoping Bed Bath & Beyond will take the cue and follow it, since they're right there as well. And for those who said, why would locals use it for parking? Well, I have a few neighbors that take their cargo bikes with their kids everywhere and they shop, and yes, they do park there because they do shop there. So there is a demand from local, and they should not be diminished as insignificant, because only cars are real transportation. Bike riders would like the same respect in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. But that brings up a point, Betty, that is not satisfied in this conversation. There is absolutely no way to guarantee that the public has bicycle access if everything is on a first come, first served basis. It is basically a private corral for Amazon, unless the bike racks that are at the ends are specifically tailored for public use only, and they are not allowed to be used for Amazon. They're asking for a bike corral. The only way to ensure that the other bikes are not attached is to ensure that there is publicly accessible bike racks within here. Because quite frankly, first come, first serve does not work when Amazon delivers 20 out of 24 hours a day. And is that something Kimberly and anyone else from the team has considered a way to guarantee public access?
Yeah, so absolutely, our bike racks, which will be at either end of the overall bike corral, cargo bike corral, are public, temporary, short-term bike parking for the public. So the center space is meant for the cargo bikes, and also open to the public. So just as mentioned, if a person, a resident owns a cargo bike and wants to park there, they could as well. But the intent is that the Whole Food cargo bikes would fill up the center space, and then the bike racks at the edge are meant for the smaller, everyday cyclists. So it's not that, there's no signage. We can't say, this is only used for a particular group of people, but the cargo bikes can't actually park at those racks. They're not big enough. So the intention is it would be for the smaller, typical bicycle rider.
Thank you, Sherry. Also, is it is it safe to say it's a request of the board for us to instruct Whole Foods to have their people not attempt to park in the racks on the side of the cargo bike corral?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's, quite frankly, I also think that there's no way that any of us should approve it unless you have in writing an agreement from Whole Foods that they will not allow their own vans or any of their deliveries for the store to double park on Warren Street. I think that's completely fair, because this is not about a general cargo space for multi-delivery companies. This is privatizing a section of the public's way. I hear what Betty's saying, but from 6 p.m. every weeknight and weekends, the space is used by the public. Yes, Whole Foods vans are there, but the space is used very widely by the public.
That's right.
It's to say that, whether that member of the public is lucky because they got to park there and it's a problem because then the vans are double parked. Well, I get that, but you're now providing a very fiscally solvent company with a solution that they needed for a use that they didn't anticipate in the private way while taking stuff away. If it was something that you said to me during 7 to 6, Monday through Friday during existing loading times, that they were going to get that, and on the weekends, if there was space, they'd have to carve it, that's one thing. But that's not what this dialogue is. This is about changing I'll put it to you this way. We had to fight to find street available access for the restaurateurs, right?
Right.
Who couldn't afford anything. This just doesn't seem to be an equal thing. And I support bike cargo because I think it's a really good thing. I just am not 100% on the privatization of the streets and allowing, they should provide their own employees for parking, right, for their own bicycles. Their employee bicycles should not be parked to a sign or in these bikeways, because otherwise then, again, there's no access for the public. So I would say if we go down this road and we choose to say we're going to approve this, it has to include, it's contingent on a letter from Whole Foods and Amazon. They will not allow their vans or any deliveries for the store to double park on Warren Street. And they will not monopolize the bike racks to allow for public usage. And with that, I'm passing it off to Detta, who is next.
Hi.
Detta? Hi.
Oh, wait. I'm trying to get...
You're live, Detta.
Okay, great. I just want to say that I think there's a different way to look at this, and this is really those racks on either side of this are going to be a huge community benefit. People who want to go with their own bike to Whole Foods, who now might have to search high and low for something to lock to, some sort of street sign, some sort of sidewalk bridging. They're going to have a rack there. That's going to be a huge amenity for the community. It's something that can be used by many, many people. Like the space before that could be house only 5 loading or unloading vehicles, and then possibly 5, car storage spots. Now this can be for many more than just 5 people who are going to come and use those racks at the edge of this cargo bike loading unloading area. And this really, in the time of COVID, you don't want cargo bikes on the sidewalk, making the sidewalk very crowded and hard to navigate. And for them just to go in the commercial loading unloading zone with no protection, though, that's also a little risky. So this is like the right solution, to take them off the sidewalk, put them in that commercial loading unloading zone with protection, plus a give back to the public that Whole Foods has to maintain. But yet they're not even going to be using those racks on the side of it. And that will be a huge benefit, and it will be a benefit for a lot of people. So I really think the community board, has a chance right now to be a leader and to be very bold and to take a chance on something new and really just take that chance and see how it works out and be a leader. And so thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think everybody has spoken who wants to speak. We know that that according to their own routes, they cannot go forward without a resolution on this. So there is a resolution that we can go through and do. Lucian.
Excuse me, Tim, before you get to that, may I make a comment?
Sure, please do. Sorry, I missed you. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Go for it.
Is there any reason why that big sidewalk on Greenwich Street is not being utilized? There are several, if I'm not mistaken, there are several bike rack holders there on Greenwich Street. So in terms of people being able to ride their bikes to Whole Foods, they can do that. That space is readily available. But that's an extremely wide sidewalk. So
You are so right. You are so correct.
I don't know why they keep looking at Warren Street when it's very narrow and you have the kids from the school and
because it's easier for them.
Oh yeah, well, easy might not be the right thing to do. You know,
So
take a few more steps.
That's
But
a good question for DOT.
My question is,
Yeah,
you know, in terms of that wide sidewalk.
Is it a preference that the cargo bikes load and unload and stage on the sidewalk rather than in the commercial loading zone?
Well, there's more space over there, so you can navigate. You know, I think
It's not a normal sidewalk.
Right.
Right.
It's huge.
Okay, yeah. I was just phrasing it for the board to answer. I mean, I think you know, DOT views it as a good behavior to encourage on street, and in many places, it occurring on the sidewalk can be viewed as a nuisance for pedestrians or whomever. So you know that's part of the thinking, and you know that's what we're going for with that.
And also, like, I just want to
add, there are a lot of existing bike racks on Greenwich Street, which they are at full capacity. For years now, we've been getting requests from the community to add more bike parking. So we just saw this as another opportunity, and to just go back with the times where we're at and making sure that our sidewalks are clear and making sure there's more space for people to continue to add just more street furniture and more, you know, clutter to our sidewalks is something we're trying to avoid. And then just to, you know, also what Jeremy was saying with just safety. We want to make sure that with the cargo bikes constantly going on and off the curb, we see that as a safety concern. Again, once our focus on pedestrians and keeping them on the sidewalks.
I disagree with you about the amount of traffic. I disagree with you with the amount of traffic and the on that the utilization of those bike racks, because they are, from when I've gone over there, they've been underutilized to the point where people can set up little booths there and sell stuff a lot of times. So I don't know when you walk by there, but that's what happens when I walk by there. But
has there been any dialogue with Whole Foods? Because they're basically coming to us. They're asking for the street and the sidewalk because it's convenient for them. They've not had to do any relocation on how they do their deliveries based on where their delivery infrastructure is. Although, you know, they, pursuant to what Francis is saying, there could have been opportunities on the Greenwich Street side because they have all that space and they have a space that they use for carts inside. So if people aren't coming to the store as much and people are getting more deliveries, you know, do they need the giant room? Could they have figured out a way to redo their infrastructure to utilize the square footage they have versus privatizing the parts of the street? and utilize, still being able to do cargo because they can already do it in the truck loading zone. So there's no impediment to that. Have you had that dialogue with them?
They've made it pretty clear that this would aid their operations and their switch over to cargo bikes. We don't know, like, to the extent that each square foot of their existing facility is being maximized. But you know, a lot of the loading bay operation is incoming goods, and this is about outgoing goods. And you know, the net increase in bike parking availability, whether or not the current bike parking on Greenwich is always fully utilized, especially with you know, the nearby commuting traffic being down, that's perhaps a separate question. But this certainly would be a net gain in publicly available bike parking spots.
Okay, Lucian, there is a resolution that is up in the executive. I can either share it on my screen or if you can share it on yours, the one that's in the drive.
Andy, while you get that up, would you mind if I make a quick comment? Oh, sorry, I'm cutting someone off.
Hey,
Pat, did you want to go?
If you have a resolution, can I call the question?
I have a question.
We're going to go. Colin made a motion to call the question. We're going to have to show the resolution because there's already, you know, there's been enough back and forth and dialogue and concerns just to make sure we've got everything. Okay.
I just want to know why Whole Foods is not paying for the spot.
And Tammy, I'm sorry, just give me 2 more seconds. I just want to remind people that we have a really contentious topic coming up next, and we're kind of spending
taking a long time here. Yeah, that's a good point. I would second Colin's motion when that's appropriate.
All right, here we go. So this is a resolution that tries to incorporate everything that's been said. So I'm going to go through it really quickly. Cora, unfortunately, while people are reading, Cora, Lucian, can you unmute Cora or give me controls too? Lucian. Okay.
Yeah,
got it.
Now.
Gotcha. Cora, go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
While the board. Yes.
Am I heard? Yes. Hello.
Yes, you are.
Everyone. I'm from County
Hi, Cora.
Manager's office. Hi. Just one. Francis said yes. On Granite Street is a wide Granite Street. There's wide sidewalks. But I just want to remind everyone, delivery is already happening. I don't know the hours. I don't live there. I invited the IBN folks to attend. I don't know if they are in the public attendees, but I know for fact that delivery is already happening. They use that space. I don't know what company, I didn't pay attention, but regularly there is a truck or vans. They are actually doing loading and unloading and people like moving the boxes around. So I just want to point it out. And the second thing is DOT okay to share whom you reach out to with the community board? That's it.
Sure,
Thanks.
sure. Yeah, we reached out to all active stakeholders on that block. We can definitely provide a list.
That would be great. So I think I have everybody's concerns in there. But actually, one of the things I do add in there that the community board has, in one of the whereases, that the community board has expressed concerns about providing a private delivery area from taking public space to a private company. That is a concern. Okay. So I put in there the guarantees from Whole Foods because we will know. I still am not sure that I'm 100% convinced on the removal of parking 24/7 and why this corral can't follow the loading zone times that are available? Does DOT have an answer of why that can't be?
Sure. Yeah, and I apologize if this wasn't clear before, but perhaps it's the infrastructure of the corral itself that precludes that. Does that make sense? With the flexible bollards and the bike racks being obstructions for other vehicles to pull into that space, and those things are permanently in the ground. Am I explaining that properly for you?
It is, but you just said to us it wasn't going to be permanent, and if it didn't work, it would be able to be removed. So that's,
that's
not
permanent
exactly.
Sorry. Yeah. So those installations can be ripped out, but they are planted in the asphalt in a way that does not make that space available to cars to pull in.
Is there a way to do it as a pilot, a temporary pilot, so we can truly see the behavior that happens and what it is, instead of permanent and rip out, which we have a suspect that if it doesn't work and it does need to be ripped out for whatever reason, we're going to hear back from the city. We're so sorry, but we don't have the money to do that. That's a capital thing. Sorry, no go.
Just to jump in there, I think this is the same as all of our other temporary projects or SIP projects, improvement projects, the same types of materials which we regularly make adjustments and changes to when they aren't working how they should be. So it's not permanent in any way. It's just markings and flexible delineators, which, as you probably know, come out and have to be reinstalled regularly. So it's not capital in any way, and removal wouldn't be capital either. I think you can consider it to be a pilot in that sense.
Oh, please, no more markings on the street. We're marked out.
Okay, so does anybody have anything else that we would need to do on this?
Just a clarification.
All right, so
Tammy.
Vote.
It would be impossible to have night parking because of the way it's set up. While it's
Correct.
removable, okay, yeah. So then, no, I'm quiet.
We are losing the parking. There is no more parking there. It's 6 spots that are gone, nights and weekends. Okay, so I'm calling the question, and Lucian, can you roll call it?
I can do that. I'm gonna unshare the screen so you guys don't see my votes. Give me 1 second.
Or I can roll call it. You can keep it up, and I'll roll call it.
Either way, I have to unshare the screen so the vote sheet's not on the public record. Okay, Tammy.
I need to see the resolution.
Yeah, put the resolution back up, and I'll find a vote sheet, and I'll call it.
Okay.
I think you got vote sheets in here for exec. You do. Okay, perfect.
Ready.
All right, you got it ready to go?
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring this.
All right, Alice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Susan Cole.
No.
Justine Kucha.
No.
Bruce Harriman.
Because of the first, therefore be it resolved, I have to say no.
Because of the first one?
Yeah, supports the installation. I don't support it.
Okay.
Tammy, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Alice, what?
Is it too late? I feel like I just don't quite, get it all. I think I best abstain here. I feel like I'm a little, I just haven't taken it all in. I have to say, this business where we get the resolution in front of us in real time like this and have to vote on it is very, very tricky, but I'm going to abstain. I'm sorry.
No problem. Paul Goldstein.
Abstain.
Mariama James.
No.
Tricia Joyce. I'll come back to you, Tricia. Betty?
Yes.
Sorry,
Patrick?
I was off. No.
Yes, on the resolution. Oh, sorry, Tricia.
Gotcha, Tricia. Gotcha, Betty. Gotcha, Patrick. Elizabeth Lewinson? Absent. Colin Mahoney?
Yes, purely because of Betty's impassioned speech.
Pat Moore?
No.
Brittany Wade?
Abstain.
Abstain. And Melcher's going to be a yes. Because if they don't play nice, they said they could take it away. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses, 3 abstentions, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 noes. So the resolution does not pass in executive. Okay. I think I would recommend to DOT, if you can, we can certainly have a follow-up conversation if you'd like. What I think the appropriate thing to do would be to have another dialogue with Whole Foods about size, shape, accessibility, and see where we can go to make cargo bikes work somehow in that zone, with maybe real estate from the front of the building, maybe some of the loading dock, but not all of the 6 spaces, and, you know, try and make it work so we can get some of the cargo bikes in there.
Tammy,
Tammy?
All right.
sorry.
This
ahead.
idea of it's going to prevent idling. Idling is illegal. I don't know if everybody's clear on that. For more than 5 minutes, truck idling is illegal. So the suggestion that putting in bike lanes is going to
Mariama.
prevent illegality is ridiculous. We need to consider this, I think, in the future. Of that shouldn't be a reason that is put forth as to why something should happen or not happen. Illegal things shouldn't happen, period. Right? But so this is not going to solve it.
I would agree with you, and I hope that with the existing landscape on the front side of their building, they can take a look and find a way to make the cargo work, and maybe even working with DOT for a smaller footprint on the street bed.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Did DOT, which has a big footprint, come to us to negotiate or ask or discuss collegially before tonight?
This is the collegial discussion, my friend, and we are collegially saying that we like and support some of the concepts and ideas.
Okay.
We do not like the particular siting of where it is, and so
Okay.
we can go that way.
Right. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, let's hit it. Let's go to the next topic. And Jeremy, Eugenia, Kimberly, thank you all for your time. I think that we can make something work in that zone, maybe not as quick as you would want, and let's talk about coming back with a revised proposal. Okay?
We look forward to more conversations. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, 52 William Street. So I want everybody to be caught up on where we are. Lucian, can you pull up my letter? Everybody knows what's happened so far. This is a letter that I sent to Commissioner Banks on October 8th after the last meeting that we had. And I am really distressed on how the city has termed CB1 and the canvas they're trying to paint on us for several reasons. First of all, Pat and Mariama have done amazing work in quality of life with DHS and DSS coming to talk to us. They came to talk to us in Q4 of 2019 about permanently siting a new shelter somewhere in Community Board 1. And the meeting was very nice, and they were very collegial, and we said we would be open to working with them because we are dedicated to helping the people who are on our streets. So every time that DHS and DSS says, oh, you're a bunch of NIMBYs and you just don't want anything, I want to make sure everybody knows we have shelters in Community Board 1 and have for decades. This is not a new concept for us. Ask anyone who lives over by Northern Tribeca. There's a shelter who's been there for decades. We have some other shelters that need to be left nameless for purpose, and their address is not known, and that's a great option that they have in our community as well. We support Many of the shelters we have many social services in our district. Downtown Alliance has partnerships. So the idea that we do nothing and we don't want anything is fairly insulting to Community Board 1. We are no strangers to what it is down here. Generally speaking, the colonial streets and the early industrial grids do not support the social distancing, as we know. We've had discussions about our district needs and things like that. So I sent a letter to Commissioner Banks, and Lucian can scroll down a bit, basically saying, you know what? We have been willing to work with you, but you need to think of other locations, because William Street, being one of the 2 northbound streets in the historic district of Fidei, is not a place that's really going to work well with the narrowest some of the narrowest sidewalks that we have in the district. So we think that there are alternate sites and locations that they should look at and to consider. Now, further to that point, I want to say that DHS with Leilani and Project Renewal came to Quality of Life again this year in July to talk about the siting of the temporary shelters first. And we had a very robust and very good working dialogue with them. So again, the mayor's pronouncement that we have nothing, we do nothing, is complete fabrication. It is not true. And I want to put that straight out there for everybody, because we have been a community who wants to solve issues, wants to help the people, and have advocated many times. I think everything that I've heard on the calls has to do with inappropriate location based on many different factors, and finding a better location is the goal, because we want to help the people on the streets. We do have a group called Open Hearts that was willing to try and work hard to make people feel welcome and help them figure out, for example, as Pat said so many times, where on earth are you going to go smoke over there, right? How are you going to get around? There's not enough places for the things that they need for services. So this letter was sent October 8th. It'll be posted on our website. The DHS and DSS need to stop the conversation commingling temporary, which is what 52 William was supposed to be, and permanent. Those are 2 totally different conversations. We've had conversations with them about permanency and about temporary. So let's make sure when we're all talking, we know 52 William was the temporary siting. We have still say that's not a good location. We don't have anything to opine on right now in terms of the move of the Lucerne men to there, because that's in the courts. That's not where we're going. So that's not our point. My point tonight for having this on the agenda is to say that the dialogue that we have with Friends of Fidei, Open Hearts, is going to be welcomed in our community board for quality of life and things like that. I want to do a resolution that kicks the ankles a little bit, because we have a history. We have been an open community to having a dialogue, and to put it in writing that says they were here then, we've welcomed them at all these different meetings, we've done all these steps. So kindly have the courtesy to come back to the community board and continue a dialogue, instead of lying and saying, oh, they don't want to talk to us, because that's just not true in any step. And I find it flat out insulting. So on that note, I wanted everybody to know I invited Friends of Fidei, because I'm hopeful that they will be able to work with Pat and the team. They are on the call, so Caitlin's here. And I also want to make sure that people know the temporary shelters we have, when this COVID emergency is over, for what DHS has promised us and told us, is that that group of people go back to the shelter they came from. What we don't know is what they're doing to help the people on our streets that we would like to be able to get shelter, and the groups of people who are together who want to move together. So we've started to have some dialogues to see if there is a way to do that. Now, I can't say we're making a whole hell of a lot of progress. I know Downtown Alliance works with Goddard Riverside to have them try and get people in for shelter. But I think the biggest point is for us as a community to figure out where we are, know what services that we have, know what services are offered, and be able to get it all together. So we have a really informed group on the board. Whether we do this through a task force, a working group, a subcommittee, or only in quality of life, that I'm going to let Pat lead and figure out. That's not going to be for me to decide. That's not the way I roll. The board can figure out how they want to do it. But the topic of 52 William itself, in its dialogue about being a temporary shelter, has been a rough one for this community board, mostly because the mayor's office had no respect for Community Board 1, for the work we have done and the work we continue to do. So with that, I'm going to put hands up for anybody who would like to speak on anything about this. My goal would be to do a resolution basically saying what I'd said now. I'm going to go Colin, Susan, Justine, in that order so far. Colin, you're first.
I want to start with kind of a strange start. I just want to make a motion to limit debate to 35 minutes.
You got it.
Is there a second?
I second, and that's a lot. We should say 20.
Sure.
I'm down with that.
I'm good.
Motion accepted. Susan, you're next.
3 things. One, Trinity ran a temporary shelter here for many years, and they closed it, not because of us. We approved a woman's shelter to go down on Greenwich Street about 3 years ago, but the landlord pulled out. We've been very receptive. I just want everybody to also know that this is a vendetta against us from the mayor, who's angry about the jail, and don't any of you forget it.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah. Well, thank you, Susan. I don't disagree, actually. Justine, Mariama, and then Tricia.
Thanks. 2 things. One is I'm really glad to hear you say that there'll be some sort of a task force or something where we're going to be discussing this further, because part of the issue, I think, in getting the people who are already here off the streets is the way that DHS is approaching it and handling it. And I think that having some partnership with people in the neighborhoods where there are homeless people, which of course is all of Manhattan and all of every place, it matters. And having people that are there on the streets and having people who have already been welcomed to into our neighborhood as neighbors because they're already here would be people who should be placed in situations. I also agree with everything you said in your letter and in your condemnation, if that's the right word, of the mayor, because that's unconscionable. There has been 2 responses come down here, and the largest response has been, I think, welcoming. And then I want to say kudos to Friends of FIDI, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them and Caitlin as to hear if there's any plan. And I know that we all collected a lot of money, made cookies, did all sorts of stuff to welcome the folks to the Radisson. And I'd like to know what happened to all that. And if we can take that and put it to the other shelters that are here. Thank you.
Okay, next.
I totally agree with your letter.
I think you're in.
Yeah, I totally agree with your letter, Tammy, and everything that you said in your opening. Totally agree with Susan as well, and Justine. And would just like to add that the location is inappropriate. The timing is inappropriate. And this rush job of trying to get everything through while using expired executive authority and power on behalf of the mayor, I think is specifically for that reason. Before the New York State Supreme Court maybe, or somebody steps in and yanks those powers away, as was done to Governor Whitmer in Michigan, he is trying to push all these things through. Whereas not only is the public outcrying for different reasons, we don't all have the same reasons, but there's an outcry from all over the public, be it the men themselves, other homeless people who are not getting the same attention, Upper West Side residents who are on either side of this issue, Lower Manhattan residents who are on either side of this issue. And the city council now has stepped forth, led by the head of the health committee, saying similar to what I've been saying since this began. This pandemic should preclude any urgency to move people around in large groups, period. The CDC guidelines are against it. We thought we were doing better. We are doing better. And I mean, I think New Yorkers really, we're a steadfast group of people, and we try to follow the rules. So, but our numbers are going up too. And so in the midst of this, this increase, this third wave that's coming across the country, you want to move a vulnerable community into a vulnerable community when when the federal guidelines suggest that you do not do that? But why? The question I think we have to ask is why. And not even a full year ago, this exact location was under a New York State investigation that was called for by the governor. And all of a sudden it just went away. What was the outcome? All of a sudden it's gone, and this guy's in this location is eligible for federal funds to be funneled in. How?
I'm giving you 1 minute.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right. All right, I'm going to unmic Kate Dooley. Before I unmic Kate, Kate's from Friends of FIDI. I will say that Pat Moore and I had a call with Lucian and some of the people we've been working with to see if there were options of things that could be done on a different way to reinvent how we help the people on the streets. To help the people on the streets in CB1 first, it's getting cold. We want to help the people on the streets here. So I don't have anything I can report out on that, but Pat hopefully will, maybe we will before November. All right, Caitlin. Or
Okay.
Kate, is it Kate or Caitlin?
Yeah, either one is fine. Hi, I'm Kate,
Welcome.
everyone. Thank you so much, Tammy. Great to be here. And thanks for all of the great sentiments before this. So my name's Kate. Myself and 4 other women from the area co-founded this Friends of FIDI, I don't know, feels like years ago, but I guess it was 3 weeks ago now. And our goal really is, we agree with a lot of the things that have been said already in terms of this was rushed and why is the mayor doing it and these men shouldn't be moved. But I think what we found is that we're all within Friends of FIDI just coming from a place of trying to take this at the grassroots, like allowing people like you guys and other politicians to figure out the grass tops. And we're hoping to be in a place where we can be the grassroots and really supporting the individuals, whoever they are, that are in FIDI and either currently homeless and unsheltered or moving into new shelters or also already in shelters down here. So that's where we've connected closely with the Open Hearts group on the Upper West Side and are learning from their experience because they've done some pretty groundbreaking things when it comes to providing that bridge between the community and the shelter residents. Myself, I come from a social service background. I was trained in the settlement house model, which is a very old model invented down here in Lower Manhattan. The first social work, so people would get off the boats and settlement houses would welcome them. So that's the background I come from and really what we're doing at Friends of FIDI. So we are welcoming people. We have a welcome committee, as Justine mentioned, and a number of people. The outpouring of support from the community has been incredible. The fundraising, the donations, and we are moving ahead. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We're now hoping to start replicating some of the experiences on the Upper West Side. So holding employment and resume writing workshops, hoping to do newsletters. Main thing initially would be kind of more fellowship things. So when the gentlemen arrive or residents arrive, whoever they are, we can give them a tour of the neighborhood, have welcome maps so they know where good grocery stores are. Really, we're just trying to be good neighbors like you would if someone moved in on your block. So the outpouring's been terrific. Please look up our Facebook page. We would love any of you to get involved. We are going to be working with Project Renewal at their 6 Water Street location now. That's where the first package that was meant for the Monday group is actually going to go. The first package of donations and welcome kits. We've had a great experience working with Project Renewal, so we'll be doing that. And we're going to keep going up to the Upper West Side. I'm actually going up after this to drop off those cookies, Justine. And so that's where we are. We're very new, but we're very eager, and it's just been such a neat way to connect with other wonderful neighbors in FIDI. So thanks very much for listening. Happy to answer any questions.
Good to hear. Say hi to
Okay.
Sham. Thank you.
So Shams is what spoke very eloquently on the meeting. He is one of the leaders of the residents of the Lucerne. And he was also willing to come to another community board meeting where we talk a little bit more about things that happen. As I said, Pat and Mariama handle all of this in quality of life. So if you are on this call and you want to know what's happening, our goal is to be able to find out in detail all the services that are offered in Community Board 1. We know a lot of them, but every time I think I know something, something else pops up. Thank you, Susan, for the history lesson. And those are super important things to know and hear, because we need to ensure that if people need help, they can get it. All right? So does anybody have any questions? And does anybody feel on, oh, Susan, your hand's still up, I got that. Does anybody feel we need a resolution to kick back at the mayor, to put it officially in writing from the Community Board 1 perspective, basically showing what we have done and saying, we look forward to the dialogue, stop Thompson in the neighborhood and maybe come talk to us?
I second that.
I second. I do too. And if we could add maybe support of Scott Stringer's call to have his fiduciary powers returned to him, I would love that as well, personally.
Yeah,
I actually think we should do I support that as a separate resolution. So let's do 2, if everybody's okay with that. The first one's going to be basically saying, stop calling us idiots, so to speak. And all right, so this I think we can do as an all in favor kind of a thing. So here's what I'm going to do for everybody that, Tricia, do you have your hand up?
I did. I just was, it's enough to say I second this. I think my points have been well enough covered. I mean, one of the whereases I would say, Tammy, is the fact that I didn't have time to do the research. I'm pretty sure that it was the beginning of the de Blasio administration that he actually closed a shelter down here. And I need to spend some time. So to me, what bothers me the most, and I'm so happy, first of all, thank you for your leadership. I think that the letter's excellent. But I think what bothers me is that it's the same theme we've seen a lot of, is this pitting people against each other, especially in a time like this, is, in my view, completely unacceptable. There is the right way of doing this and the wrong way of doing this. And we need to send the message that it's the wrong way of doing this. We need to take our focus off the content and talk about the intent. And I really think it's worth our time and energy to do that, so that we do not find ourselves again here in this place. I remember the pink summonses on Thomas Street. This happens over and over again, where there's no outreach, there's no thoughtfulness in terms of their initiatives, and it has to stop. So that's my 2 cents.
I love that, and that's good. So I think we are in a position which is interesting and good, that I'm going to do a roll call on this a little differently than I did before. So it's basically going to be, I'm going to assume everybody's a yay, and then I'm going to call abstentions, noes, abstentions, and recusals. So with that in mind, I'm
sorry, Tim, could you just...
Do I have...
I'm not very clear. Sorry.
All the whereases are the history of CB1, and the therefore be it resolved is demanding that the mayor's office, DSS, and DHS work with Community Board 1 in a dialogue, instead of to continue the work we've already done for siting of a permanent shelter with Community Board 1. The way they have the process without including us is where we got to here. Try talking to us, try working with us, try understanding who we are and our street grid. They have a requirement under Fair Share to look at all of our documentation, which includes our budget-based requests, includes our concerns about our streetscape and everything else. So basically his citing at 52 William ignored everything, but that was quote unquote temporary. We're talking about permanent.
Got it.
Because I can't, everything else is in a lawsuit. I'm talking about permanent.
And Timmy, if
All
we
right?
could
Does
add
that make it
something,
clear?
it does. If we could add something that Tricia said about pitting neighbors against neighbors.
I did.
Because, yeah,
I put
okay,
that down.
putting that in there. Thank you. I like
did.
that language.
All right. So my way of calling the question is there any abstentions? And don't be shy. If you don't feel like it, it's okay. Unmute yourself if you abstain, please. No abstentions. Are there any no's?
Mahoney.
You got it. Are there any recusals? Perfect. Okay, motion passes. All right, next is taking the subject that was sent about requesting that the mayor's emergency orders are curtailed to return checks and balances through the controller's office. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that there was a joint letter sent. All right, so that's okay. Thank you, Cora. Cora sent me a joint letter from the electeds to the mayor about putting a moratorium on moving shelter residents from hotels to hotels. Well, that's nice. Cool. There's also a letter that the controller sent to the mayor and several others at the end of August saying that the pandemic has stabilized to a level that checks and balances should be returned and that to rescind part of the executive order to allow that more oversight. So that is what we are asking for. It'll be very short and sweet, and that is the therefore be it resolved to rescind that part of the executive order, return checks and balances.
Do we have to second that?
I do.
I second it. Sorry, I second it.
All
then.
right. Perfect. So then the question is, do we have any no's?
Mahoney.
Mahoney, that's fine. Do you have any abstentions? Do I have any recusals? Motion passes. All right, off we go, back to our agenda. I thank everybody for participating on those. Thank you very much to Kate for coming in, and we move forward to the budget, and Lucian takes it away.
Okay, everyone. So thanks to all the committee chairs for your work in discussing the New York City fiscal year 22 budget. This is the part of the process where we go through not only last year's remaining items, which I'll walk you all through, but also new ideas that were generated this year. So let me just take a second to pull up the correct screen. What you're seeing right now is our database with all of the budget items for 22. This includes both ideas which were generated and inputted by committee chairs, CV members, members of the staff at the behest of CV members, as well as items from last year that I have identified as not being fully supported by the city for one reason or another. And I have not included items that the city has said were fully funded. So I can change the way that this is filtered so you can see all those items. But what I recommend is that we go through these items. There are 102 of them. And the committee here can discuss what to keep and what to discard. If there are any items that some of these items are no longer relevant, um, and some of these items are extremely relevant. So it's better to try to keep these items to the most important, and also to, if something is just never ever being funded, either change it or alter it or explain it better. But we have to find a way, instead of just kind of throwing the same information at the agency, to get them to either better understand it or sell the idea through this portal, which is, admittedly not an amazing way to send them information, but they do have to synthesize information from 59 community boards. They're all doing the same thing. So it's always better when throughout the year we are developing resolutions, sending those on, and providing lots of kind of context and backstory. But as part of this process specifically, what we decide to keep today, I will bundle together for a full board, all together, and I will update the narrative for our statement of district needs, and then go onto the special portal for district managers to manually input all these items to be submitted to their database. So that's kind of the process on my end, and how the work on your end leads to that result. So however you want to start, I have this set right now to go through the new ideas, and then to go then into the items that were either rejected or partially approved. But I can easily flip that around according to what the committee's, how you want to kind of start this process. But there are 102 of them, so some of these will be fast, and some of them you'll want to discuss. So I recommend you dive in.
There are 102 of them. How can we deal with this efficiently?
So last time we called it out, and it was, if I don't hear a resounding no, we leave it where it is.
Thank you.
Right? If it's a continuing thing, we just continue it on. All right. So I used to have a book, and I went whoosh, 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 whoosh. So here it's okay. All right. First one was a request to designate Gateway Plaza as a NORC, which is a naturally occurring retirement community. A portion or all. All right. Keep going. Next is the
if we say nothing, that means you keep it, yeah?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. JP Ward does not drain properly. I can't. We're definitely never going to change that one. Just keep going because it's a cesspool corner. All right. Supported the city's green infrastructure programs. Sure, city parks and green streets have previous green spaces, adequate stormwater capture. Hearing nothing, we continue. CB1 next, ask city budget include allocation for staff positions for COVID-19. And this comes from quality of life and EPA, I think. Okay, keep going. Park Mateson staff along the East River Esplanade, City Hall Park, and Peckslip Park. Okay. Restore and upgrade City Hall Park Northeast Plaza.
Does that include the sidewalks that have been damaged by the NYPD cars pulling up on there?
Yep, that's what it says specifically. I didn't get to it.
Oh, okay.
Yes. All right. Okay. This is also City Hall Park recommended repairs, including the broken pavement beyond where the car is parked, replacing chemically damaged stuff. Keep going. This is the
couple of minutes.
Barnett Newman Triangle.
Keep it.
Keep going. Parks, Partnership for Parks to support neighborhood volunteers for parks and maintenance. Keep going. Are we asking for fiscal support on that one, Lucian?
It has to be. Yeah, this would be, I guess, expense budget.
Yeah.
So I would say for this one, we might want to be specific of what we just want to give more budget to Partners for Parks. Okay, I can make this a little bit more specific.
Because Partnership for Parks is not a volunteer organization, is it?
It's kind of like a quasi city. It's like a not for profit, but it's essentially part of the city. It's Department of Parks and Recreation's special not for profit arm.
I would just say you should add that, at a time of fiscal cutbacks in park maintenance, we need to support and create additional friends of groups, something like that.
Okay, something like that, and I'll keep working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Finn Square. Again, the same kind of thing, supporting the maintenance of Finn Square. So keep going. You might want a location because I'm not sure if they know where Finn Square is.
Yeah, let's give what are the approximate cross streets here?
Paul, do you remember?
Finn Square is Varick, West Broadway, Franklin, and it ends close to Leonard.
Thanks,
Bruce.
All right, could you just give me two? I'm sorry, just give me two cross streets.
Varick and West Broadway.
Thank you all.
Okay. Bowling Green Park. Enlarge and make the major tourist destination safer. Now the city decides to keep the charging bull. Find a way to separate visitors and vehicular traffic by enlarging the busy park. There we go. Keep going.
I didn't mark this one last one here. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Injuries, pedestrian and cyclist space on the Brooklyn Bridge. That's an easy one. Keep going. Yes. Canal Street, enhanced pedestrian safety. Yes. Yep. Tribeca on the bike path. Actually, that one was funded already. I think they completed everything on the west side of the Greenway. We have to check on that. I think that one's been funded. Unless they're talking about the expansion. Let's take a look at.
Really fair.
All right, Betty, do you know? Do you remember?
Sorry, this was to complete it in case it's not completed by June of next year. It is funded for now
Gotcha.
in the current.
Gotcha.
It's okay. So for just because of the budget, just the turmoil, I think projects that we assumed were funded last year, it's probably safe to try to put it back on the top of our list and ask for funding if we're not totally sure that they're getting money until the shovels are in the ground.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, next, Making our streetscape friendlier. That's good. Okay. All right, all right, this one is for the traffic intersection. Increase the lines of cycling. This is CB1.
This is the idea of taking
The study
from West Street.
Yeah.
So
I think we need
what
to.
from West Street?
This is Community Board 1 passed a resolution talking about enhancing the bikeway to potentially look at the potential to take one lane off of West Street and adding it as a dedicated bikeway until Chambers Street. So it's not way down, it was from Chambers north. That needs to be reflected.
Increase reliance
Okay.
on cycling. So slowing, making the West Side Highway less of a highway.
Yes. Finding a way to usage.
I would make it come all the way down. But if you're going to do, I don't know if I agree with it, but if you're going to do it, come all the way down.
No, you can't because of the turn lanes. That was what we already have a resolution.
Okay.
We have a resolution based on that.
Yes, that makes sense. Okay, sorry.
Okay. It's okay. All right. Next. Traffic study for Albany at the crossing of West. This is after the removal of the Rector Street Bridge. We had asked and DOT agreed. We would like to ensure that the safety study gets done. Next. Yep. Sure. That's funds to complete 42 Trinity. Beneath the Brooklyn Bridge. Turn the parking lot into a green play space. Yes. I'm not hearing a lot of people saying no.
Look.
Yeah, this is all good.
You ate some already.
Is this a duplication?
It's amazing.
Okay.
I think it is.
Great. Okay.
No.
Isn't it? We've already done Brooklyn Bridge and bicyclists.
We did. Okay, because this is.
We did. This is the second one.
Oh, okay. But you're not taking off the one about the new space. Okay.
No, definitely not at all.
Okay, good.
Okay. Affordable housing. Yep, that stays. Reminds me of thinking. Composting. That is something that we've supported and we asked for and is viably on the chopping block. So yep, keep going.
The affordable housing, it was for preservation. Are we doing anything for creation?
Yeah,
that's good. That's the last note that I have. Is I didn't see it yet, Mariama, but I wanted to talk about creation, and I was going to see if it was there for affordable housing.
Okay.
And I think we should also call out specifically the World Trade Center site as separately that we want that for housing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Question also to add about housing and affordability. Can we throw in there, this is more like limiting budget, not asking for money, but how about 300 million is enough to collect from the Battery Park City Authority? It does affect the city. The city is a big part of that. And just
you'd have to have
it's saying 300 million is enough. I don't know how to say it. I don't know, but that would be something that would be an interesting. And it does affect the budget.
It definitely does, but I don't know where that would fit in here. But all right, Lucian, do we have anything else on the affordable?
Well, so I'm just making sure to add this item while we're talking about it. From what I've observed of these conversations, a lot of what I hear is people saying that our children can't afford to live in the same place they grew up. So the way I was going to phrase this was for families and, you know, young people. So that speaks to large unit housing or units, and then also single people units.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that everyone is okay with that phrasing, because sometimes you know, people are against studios and 1 bedrooms and want to say we want more, you know, 2-3 bedroom units. So I just
We kind of want it all. Wouldn't it be
We want
nice
it
if the
all, yeah.
teachers?
Yeah, the teachers
Wouldn't it
could
be nice
stay.
if the teachers could live here? You know, if you work in a, you know,
If you work as a doorman in a building, wouldn't it be nice to live in the same neighborhood that you're working? Or if you're a firefighter in the neighborhood?
No.
No,
No.
doorman, no? You don't think so? Maybe not the same building, but the neighborhood, yes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But firemen, sure, why not?
Great.
Even though we're
Yeah.
neighbors working now.
Okay. So I was just
Yeah.
making sure this is good. Okay. Great. All right. I'm going to go back. Just adding that in.
All right. Okay. Where were we? We were down. The children, yes, that's a standard. We do that. Okay, trainings for community members. No, that should be done professionally, not by the city. They have community outreach liaisons. They're not-for-profits. That's what Goddard Riverside does. That's what the others do.
Okay.
And for people who want to be trained, they should be going to those organizations.
But is
to
this
get
for
trained.
the city? Is this for the city to perform the training or to pay for it?
This is for paying for it.
Just says, no, this is to provide.
Because
so it looks like DHS. I mean, DHS is the agency that manages all these efforts. So the way it's worded, it appears that DHS would be conducting the trainings.
I see.
I didn't enter this in, so
I don't think that that's something that I think that if you want to be trained to go help the homeless in the neighborhood, you should go volunteer and work with the organizations that do the outreach who are professionally trained.
How about asking for more funding to the community organizations instead of community members to conduct outreach? Because part of what we asked for earlier, right, is to say, how do we help the people that are here? This is one way to try to figure out how to help the people who are here already. And how do you get engagement with the community?
I have no troubles with, I think that's a valued way to go, is to ask DHS to provide funding to organizations to increase the amount of outreach available.
Perfect. I would be okay with that.
Okay, so
Take the one that was in there and change it. Why are we adding to the bottom?
I want to point out that we have we do have 2 DHS items, but they're not exactly what you're saying. So I'll just modify this one. Just wanted to check to make sure that we weren't making a duplicate.
Tammy didn't like this one the way it was worded, so this is a good one to modify, and you already started it.
Okay. All right. So let's additional.
I hear what you're saying, Justine, but I'm not asking the city to train members of the public. We have organizations that do that. I want the city to help fund them so people can go and get their
No, I
training.
agree with you. I agree with you. With that change, I agree with you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. After Lucian's done typing, you know what, Lucian, slide it over on the screen because I can just make some faster notes with you done. All right, waterfront. What's a bathymetric survey? Holy smokes.
Says it right there. Measures the depth
Gotcha.
of water so that we understand what uses would be doable there.
Awesome. Love that. Okay. That's super cool. All right, next. Assess state of all. Yep, definitely. Long-term resiliency. Okay, so that needs to just change.
Is this through the BPCA for Stuyvesant? Is that part of the BPCA?
Well,
because then it would not go through the city budget.
Well, the problem is BPCA is stopping. They're not making it all the way up to Canal Street. So we need to find a way for the city to connect into whatever plan the Battery Park City Authority is doing to finish protecting the west side.
I think it's saying north of Stuyvesant. I mean, I didn't write this one, but it's pretty close to what I think is the idea. And there's money there to research this, and that's what we would want to have researched.
I think it's the BPCA is going north of Stuyvesant, right? Aren't they going to North Moore Street or some? Or we don't know what they're doing yet because they haven't decided.
North of Harris,
so,
north of Northmore. That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, but just correcting it that way. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah, correcting it. So instead of Stuyvesant, it says Northmore.
It is Northmore, I think, isn't it? From the.
That's what I recall from the last meeting I was at.
I think if you just said the West Side Highway, you'd be.
And connect into the BPCA, maybe their plan. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tammy, are there 170 of these and we're on 20? Where are we in this exercise?
I know. No, there was 102.
And we're at 20?
All right, so here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to take notes, Lucian, and we're not going to wait for you to type because that takes a really long time. All right. So flood barriers. Yes. Keep going. Next. Enhanced fire and EMS. This was expand the funding. That's fine because there's no connection into the Battery Park City lands. Interim flood protections on the west side. That. All right, so that we have to take a look at the flood protections to make sure it's not duplicative. Okay. So, all right.
That's why I went back for the second.
Inspect water mains. Capital.
Okay, so we're getting So this is now we're getting into our holdovers from last year. So we put this in as continued support. They said more information needed. You know, either we have to provide more context or we have to get rid of it.
Be careful what you
Where
wish
was the water?
for.
Okay, right. So this was about the water main breaks and the never-ending projects on Worth and West Broadway and others with DEP and Con Ed. Thoughts, comments? Take it off, leave it on.
So this also could be an example of something. I added a line here says first fiscal year because for new ideas, I'm tracking when they were first placed. Some of these items may have been on here for quite some time, just being put back on over and over again. So this could have been an issue before, and now DEC is, replacing water mains. So you may not want to keep it. It just may be on just from, never having been taken off.
I think we can kill that one for right now. All right.
So they wanted specific.
We have to add more. Okay, we can take a look at that. That we can take offline because we have resolutions we can add on that. So that's fine. Add to the green falls. Battery, what? Do we need a second? They need a comfort station and park office in the Battery. That is true. And we've done a resolution on that before. So yes, keep going. That stays.
This we can get rid of because that's in progress, right?
Yeah.
They have to get the people to move out of. Yeah, it's an agency. It's an agency thing. Yep. That is funded. That should say continue funding.
Yep, it's on there. For some reason, more information needed. Unsure why.
I don't. They broke ground, so. Okay, keep going.
This was different.
Elizabeth Berger Plaza.
Isn't that?
Tricia, do you remember?
It's done.
Yeah,
I think that's
finishing
that.
It's a done deal. I don't think it's finished construction.
Right.
All right, we can take that off.
It's still in the DOT budget. It's active.
So we don't need to keep it on our list.
Well, not necessarily, but I don't know that they consider it finished.
Well, I'm just, it's funny we're talking about this because I'm a little worried that it's one of the, projects that has been interrupted by COVID. And in that case, we could advocate for it to be in the next wave of projects that they,
Finished.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
all right. Good. Next. Traffic calming on 9A. We have to add the specific streets. We have a resolution on that. We can add those streets. We can go do that tomorrow. No problem. Next. Yeah, sanitation. Denied. Okay.
I think they want specific locations.
We did that with the Downtown Alliance. I believe we talked about pilot locations. Betty or Michael Francor might remember, so we can add the pilot locations for that. Not now, but we can follow up with you afterwards. Keep going. Next. Bioswales, Barn Newman, yep. Reconstruct, Bowling Green Park, the pathways, yes. That's separate, that's different from the other one. Go for it. Bluestone pathways in City Hall Park with more durable bluestone.
Meh.
Do we need to keep that one? Because we have the other one.
Well, this is an issue that Friends of City Hall Park has raised.
Okay.
Doesn't hurt to keep it in.
Exactly. Okay. So this is create, let's just say create east side of CD1 and complete. I'll believe it when I see it. When the library opens, I'll call it complete.
Yeah.
All right. Next. Yep. Keep going. I believe they did the Morris pedestrian bridge. The problem that
I think their issue is that this is a state bridge.
Oh, but I think it's finished though. They did upgrade it, right?
Yeah.
They did the upgrade. It's the elevator that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know there is an elevator.
DOT's issue.
Okay. Okay. Speed cameras. I'm good with that. Keep going. Please tell me we're like past 50 already, right?
Feels that way.
No, we're not. Can we scroll up the list to correspond roughly with the items being discussed now, so we can see where we're at?
Oh, cool. We're past 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm loving it. Okay. All right. public. We did Morris, we did speed cameras, we did, this is a duplication, I believe, the Brooklyn Bridge banks.
For baseball.
Oh, no, this is different
This
because
is different, yeah.
one was the banks. Yep, nope, that stays. We have so much we'd like. Traffic calming, yep.
No, this one has problems. First of all, it's IS 289 that is with PS 89. So that's just informationally needs to be adjusted. I'm also not sure where they want the crosswalks because there are crosswalks built out at both corners in either direction. Is this requesting
They want one in the middle of the block?
I think that's so inappropriate of a school that I can't support that. Besides,
We had actually support, we did support it because it was from the front door of the school directly over to the ball field.
Yeah, and it's the way the kids cross.
But it's between two traffic lights with buses.
Along with the traffic control measures?
No, because this is a very separate thing. And the kids just walk, whatever you're saying, that no one walks the corner. This is where they walk. So having a crosswalk would be really useful.
So when they
actually they don't.
Yeah, that was
the situation that was at Millennium. You know, you have,
yeah.
You want to believe that you're going to walk those children to a corner. But the other thing to take into consideration that we found at Millennium is that you really don't want to walk them to the corner. You want them to have their own crosswalk. And I'll tell you why. The business foot traffic is on the corner. Mixing the children in with that foot traffic did not have good results. And so we built the crosswalk at Millennium and the speed bump because they weren't going to go to the corner and mix in with the business foot traffic to go to the Stone Street Plaza. And at IS 289, they go to the ball field all day long. They have recess there. So it's really, the teachers supported it, the phys ed teacher supported it. And I think we should.
Yeah, no, and I think that you're right. I think Manhattan Youth would support it and Asphalt Green would support it too, because they all use it.
Hi, I'm gonna buzz you in.
Okay.
Push the door in.
That's Bruce, sorry.
Bruce.
And
Bruce.
He's away from his computer.
Okay, so
gotcha. All right.
Did you want to add something about a speed hump or anything else like a traffic control measure, or you just want to leave it this way?
Oh, let's add a speed bump or traffic control measure, sure.
Actually, you can't because there are buses.
We did try to do that, and Betty is correct.
So just to understand, what does this mean? The cars are going to stop at the middle of the block when the light's red, as opposed to going all the way to the light?
Or at least be aware that kids are crossing there because there's a crosswalk. It gives you, calls your attention to it.
Yes, it's one of those crosswalks that is, it's just like on the bike path, how they're supposed to stop when people are crossing the bike path to go, you know, let's say you're on Harrison Street at the entrance there. They're supposed to stop.
Okay, gotcha.
But I want you to know that that's against DOT regulations, what you're asking for. Because that's why they won't give me a crosswalk at the end of North End Avenue to cross Chambers Street.
Well, I mean, DOT rules have accommodated the needs of the community on streets that weren't built to have schools, Betty. And the speed bump on Millennium was rejected for 3 years before we got it. And it wasn't until we really drilled it down and helped make them aware of the fact that maybe they need to put the regulations regarding curb cuts aside for the better of children so they aren't killed by oncoming traffic.
And also there was a child struck by a car at Millennium, remember? She was knocked out, yeah.
Well, there was one crossing here as well.
That's true. So
that's why I can't see encouraging more to use that as a path.
How about
it's not encouraging, it's they use it.
Add a stop sign and build out mid-block?
That would be cool.
Crosswalk. That way you have traffic is told to stop. It's
maybe a yield sign, so that way people will slow down but not necessarily stop if there's no reason to.
We have advocated for a school crossing sign, which is usually goes along with that. And Ed was, you know, I think they were very much against it. And I don't, again, these are situations where the DOT is going by their regulations based on traffic, but they aren't, absorbing the fact that we have schools in places where we're going to have to bend those rules to accommodate for the pattern of children. And, you wouldn't ideally put a school there and then a ballpark across the street. But that is, in fact, what happened because of the limitations of our opportunities here. And so at that point, we just have to advocate for it. And with enough effort, we get it.
What about a flashing yellow light?
That's harder.
I've seen on West 125th Street mid-block crossings with stoplights. It's a long block, and DOT has added a crosswalk with a traffic control device to accommodate it mid-block. So if that's what you want, it's something that we can certainly advocate for.
I think we should have some signage in addition to the crosswalk, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
So something like that.
Perfect.
Okay.
I mean, they may say no, Betty. I acknowledge what you know and your position, but we could ask.
So this one was something that we put together to try to force or try to encourage DOT to change out the street lamps, particularly along Worth Street. So I think that we need to focus this to be clear that Worth Street is exactly where we want it. I think they were kind of saying, "Oh, we need a more precise location," so we can carve this to be even more direct. Since Tammy's not on, I'm just not hearing any objections. I'll keep moving.
Next,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
fine.
Oh, there you go.
Lost myself. Yep, keep going. Who's talking about compost? I'm muting you. Okay. All right. Does anybody remember this one? I do not, from last year. They have a public plaza.
So the Pace on their private property, they redid the plaza, but the large expanse of sidewalk area in front of Pace belongs to DOT, and it's in disrepair, and so they want DOT to renew it so it matches the quality of the private part of the plaza.
In front of Pace on Park Row?
Why don't we let DOT take care? I mean, Pace take care of that. What do we need to do that for? Since they're building,
I actually agree with.
they're building a new building. They haven't been good. I don't need to worry about that. Let's move on. I say no.
Discard it.
Hungry.
Keep going. All right. Funds burn. We've repairs to the staircase on Frankfurt Street. Leave that because we've already said about recreation. So keep going. Next, Franklin between Hudson and Barrett, cobblestones.
We're just gonna run through all the cobblestone streets that are in disrepair. So I'm assuming that you all want to keep those.
Yes.
Yes.
You'll see a lot of these.
That's fine.
Yep, just keep going.
They have to get people from Italy to come over.
Okay. This one's different.
Keep going. I think that's, yep. Yep. Okay, sorry.
Why is that ours?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, the new market building site.
It's all down by Howard Hughes. Hello.
No, it's a
Why would be
city-owned building, and precisely, we do not want Howard Hughes to be in charge of every
Okay.
decision.
I thought it was theirs. Thank you, Paul. I got it. Fine.
Why do we? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Keep going. All right, hold on. Yep. Leave that. I'd rather. Yep.
I'll leave everything with them. Yes.
Yep. Good. We already have something more detailed on that. That one can go away. Keep going. Those are the school. They denied that. Tricia, they denied the request that we made for the office buildings.
I think that.
What office building?
Hey,
Sorry.
wait, go back again. I don't know what that is. Broken up to 3 separate requests?
For the schools that are co-located in office buildings have very difficult times for the kids in the schools. Yeah.
This year we can just make 3 separate requests. I think that's what they want, is to unbundle them.
I'm happy to unbundle them as long as they do all 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
3 equal requests, but individual requests.
They made 4 attempts to renovate the elevators at 26 Broadway. They had put a charter school in them before even looking at the elevators. I was there randomly 3 times, and all 3 times there were children stuck between floors in those elevators. And to the point where they had to give the principal a key to the main elevators in the business part of 26 Broadway, parading the children across to the business side, which is, by the way, against the law and the chancellor's regulations, taking them up to LMC. So I would say that situation is probably an emergency. And, so as long as they do it, that's fine. If they turn them down, Lucian, when we separate them, we should definitely take action.
Okay. I'll let you know as soon as these results come back in.
By the way, 81 new is 26 Broadway. That would be important.
So
that's the same building.
It's the same building. 81 new is the school's entrance. 26 Broadway is the business entrance.
Okay, so will just be 2 requests then.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Apologies, my kids made dinner.
Okay.
Okay. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. We're good. I think they denied that, but we did ask for some particular locations. We should be asking for every location that has along with the ferry stops, the helicopter pads, and
we technically have access to air quality information for the helipad because part of their contract is they have to provide it, the reports, to EDC. So if we want to do something with that data, I can request the quarterly reports from EDC. But for other locations, such as the ferry terminals, those are places where we don't have an identified stream of air quality testing.
Okay.
Can you scroll
Keep
down
going.
to roughly where we are on the list, please? I'm just exhausted. It's a
We're
long
just
day.
trying to figure out how fast he can get out of here, and I don't blame him.
Well, sort of. And there's that one issue I texted you, Tammy.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right.
Good, we're getting there.
Yeah. Remember, this is a year's worth of work plus, folks. So this is, you know.
Yeah, this is one of the most important things that the community board does.
Yes, we do, yeah.
Well, it'd be nice to get community board staff, but
Yeah, that ain't gonna
I
happen.
think
leave
you
it
keep
there.
it in, it doesn't matter. Keep it in.
Exactly. Keep it in. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. I had to
Keep
make
going.
this. Okay.
Yes.
Yep, that's good.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Anything that
That's
says placard, yes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Bicycle riding.
Oh, yes. And skateboard riding.
Actually, we should include electric, motorized bicycles on sidewalks that are not used for ADA purposes.
For sure.
So another Revel scooter riding straight through the park in the battery. I saw them on the West Side Highway as well, but I'm talking on the elevated portion where they're not allowed. So, and the FDR Drive. So telling me that they don't go on there, I'm a little suspect.
Yeah, but that's Darwin at work.
Yeah. My husband's making snarky comments. I have to tell him to be quiet because he forgets the meetings are recorded. Okay, keep going.
You want
Yeah.
this is?
No, I don't want that one there.
Okay.
Yes, receivings. Yeah. Yes, we do want that. Contextual zoning. Yes, we can add more information to that. We know where we're going. Keep going. That's fine. This might be a duplicate, unless that's the one we added. Keep
I
going.
think it's the one we added. Because we had,
Okay.
yeah, I think it was.
No, this is the existing one.
Oh. You want to
I need
present
more information.
Yeah.
So we know we have to.
We can.
Oh, this one is specific to Battery Park City. I think that's the difference.
I'm going to put this as modify and then.
Then we'll come back to it. That sounds good. All right. Keep going.
I'm working.
Working. Yep.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah, what is it? We do too.
Yeah.
All right, keep going.
Okay.
That's great. Yep. Keep going. Again, more waste. Yep. Yes. Okay, keep going. Quality of life issues. Yeah, well, that's what we're about. Yes.
We should put some social workers in there. Anyway, go on.
I was going to ask if we could get some for NYPD. Social
Can we go
workers.
back down a little? Yeah, read this one a little bit. Double lecture bus.
This one?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. I like the non-commissioned officers. Is that what that is? NCO?
Yeah.
the neighborhood coordination officers.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, but they should, well, we
We
can't.
should add in, that's a good thing, but it's also, we should add in, that they should have social workers too.
Yeah. To respond to like the,
Well, they should contract with, it's a long involved process, but they shouldn't, you know, but yes.
My daughter made popovers.
Oh, I'm glad you're eating. Let's keep moving.
All right, sorry. Keep going. Additional uniform workers,
We
yes.
can add that later. Let's keep moving.
Okay.
You can, you know, we'll clean
That
it up.
one's pretty controversial, but what the hell?
Yep, that's related to the other one. We can get back to that. That's related to the elevators.
Yeah, what the hell, Bruce? It's right.
Yes.
Just gonna close.
They're not going anywhere right now.
No,
yeah,
no.
there we go.
They're not going anywhere.
what does it mean
The
for,
rats aren't leaving.
what does it mean for this to only be partially approved? They want to remove some rats and leave others?
Only on certain blocks, Mariama. Only on certain blocks. Keep going.
I think there may be some parts of Lower Manhattan where they're applying
Where,
some
you know,
funding instead of
where?
every inch of the Lower Manhattan.
On the 50th floor, on, you know, really?
Here we go. This is perfect. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Status unclear.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Let's go.
Absolutely.
So good, yep.
But can't we combine them? But let's go.
Yep.
You don't have to.
Categories of
Keep
people.
going.
Keep going.
Yes, okay.
Going.
To keep them separate.
All right.
Keep going. We're
Keep
good.
going. We say that before somewhere, but I guess with City Hall Park.
Nope. Yep. That's perfect. Keep going.
I thought we were almost at the end. It doesn't seem like it.
We are, I promise. Keep going. Yes, that stays. Oh, we'd like to be nice to LPC. Why not?
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pissing in the wind, but why not? Go on.
I'm thinking the same thing. Yep. Yep.
This is the last one.
Perfect. So there are a couple of things that I think we need to take a look at.
Also,
one of the things. What didn't you see, Pat?
I didn't see, you know, high harp on that left turn from West Side Highway into Greenwich South.
To Albany?
Mm-hmm. I didn't see that.
You're talking the left turn on Albany?
Yes, from the highway.
Okay.
I didn't see the
So we need to add that back in. I think it fell off, both of those.
Okay.
Solution. Who's ever typing, stop typing. Please, sorry. It's a left turn. Mary, I'm muting you, dude.
From 9A onto Albany into Greenwich South.
Left turn southbound 9A onto Albany. Straight. That's one. We did the social workers. Bruce has one. Bruce, go for it. You have one to add?
No, did I have my hand up? Not Albany, no, not Albany Street.
Oh, the one you wanted to add for a budget consideration.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. What I wrote, what I texted to you was semi-private, but for you, Lucian, and me for a minute about Worth Street.
Okay, we'll do that after. I'd like to actually, instead of having individual companies campaign DOT to privatize space on the street, I'd like to ask the city to do a study of locations where we could potentially advocate for a centralized cargo station like that they've been talking about.
I like that. That's a way to kind of give them the cargo station, because the concept is a good idea. I just don't like it where they're doing it.
Well, I don't think they think it out.
No, I
Just-
think you're right.
It's a knee-jerk reaction. I think that's great, Tammy.
And so doing the study is a great idea. That's a good way to do it.
They you know.
Yeah.
The bike cargo? Are we
Let's
talking
find,
about?
we're talking about bike cargo places. Let's find places in CB1 that can lend itself naturally. So maybe FedEx has a place, or UPS, or whomever it is, that they have more individual places, Amazon, whomever, that they, and Fresh Direct, so they can, instead of what we got going.
Yeah, but why are they paying for this? Why are we giving this to them for free? They're commercial entities.
I don't
They said this was a project.
We don't want to do it. We want to identify areas. They can pay for it.
And then
We
let
want
them do it.
studies, and then they can pay for it.
Yeah, they build their own little, as long as they're allowed to, they build their own little bike thing that they're doing.
Did we put scaffolding back on?
I don't know. I didn't see scaffolding, but
We will add scaffolding. What do you want specifically about the scaffolding, other than a review?
Yeah, review. I don't know if they need more employees to address the issue of maybe calling on some of these businesses when they've just left up scaffolding and aren't working.
That's DOB.
That's DOB. Yep. So we're looking for DOB funding to review the scaffolding
policy and enforce it. That's supposed to be, scaffoldings aren't supposed to be up for more than 6 months or 3 months or whatever it is. There's a new policy and they're up for too long.
Exactly. Got it. Okay.
All right.
From everything else that we've done, anything else that we see?
Is this the place? I mean, you remember they had the there was some legislation. Did it pass where new buildings had to have indoor garbage container rooms?
Yes, but it doesn't solve the problem of the existing buildings that we have.
No,
it
doesn't.
Just it applies to conversions, I believe, and new.
All right, so that's a pilot project that was actually legislated.
Betty, do you remember we had talked about this?
Excuse me?
Do you remember, did the legislation pass? No, it was legislation that the city council was doing about having indoor garbage compactors.
But I think it was quality of life and not transportation.
It would have been quality of life, and I'm not aware of it. Is the answer as well.
Right. I thought it was a pilot program. I wasn't sure it was legislation that passed, but we can look into it.
We'll look, because I kind of remember it at a kickoff meeting that I was at instead of Anthony, maybe in January of this year.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. Okay. Betty, you were there. This is a pilot program where they were talking about getting the trash off the streets and putting them into.
Yeah, there's a pilot program for establishing trash. I don't say sheds, but areas within a curb lane, so you could pull the trash bags off of the pedestrian right of way and appropriate some amount of the.
Oh, that's a separate thing.
Right of way for storing trash, but I think there's even more than that, where they're also looking for expressions of interest or some some degree of that at waste storage within the roadway, within the public right of way for some.
And that was at Betty's meeting.
But we do have something on our. We do have a request for that.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right. So I think that could be it. Anybody else from any other? Oh, not true. We need to put in somewhere here, because of the open streets, that we are requesting with outdoor dining being permanent, a complete renovation, starting on the local level, and view of parking.
What do you mean renovation? Renovation of what?
So now that outdoor dining is a permanent aspect of potential, we need to really take a look at what we've learned and the feedback we've gotten overall about what's working and what's not, and try and, instead of sticking it in the middle of what our streets are, what we should be doing is taking a look and saying, okay, well, you know what? On this street, there is, nothing but agency parking, and there are several restaurants here and retail establishments that could use space.
Yeah, I was going to wait till
To do
you told
outdoor.
about new business, but I went to Claudio last week, and sure enough, across the street from the restaurant where they originally had their outdoor seating, their larger portion of outdoor seating, because they have some immediately in front of the door, a couple of small tables, and then across the street they had that one of those larger, temporary build out things. That is now in front of them, which we knew from the last meeting, but we're in its place, although the street's been closed completely on both sides of Ann, on Nassau and on Park Row, so that there is no traffic there. There were a bunch of cars, placard cars, city cars, parked across the street where seating had been and could be.
But I think there's a larger issue.
I do too, Pat.
Yeah, I think, and I don't mean to step on your toes, Susan, but the problem, somebody's radio. The problem is, up until now, we've had control over sidewalk cafes and how we wanted to regulate sidewalk cafes. If this now has become permanent seating, then do we still have the ability to regulate? Or, up until now, I mean, right now, for this what was temporary, they were allowed to do what they regulated themselves. We want to know now if the control comes back to the community board to regulate outdoor seating.
I agree with Pat. There is no regulation. There is nothing. And if they don't have any rules and enforcement or whatever, it's got to come back in some way. This is all temporary until we establish something permanent that we have some input in. It's crazy.
So
I agree with both of those. But to Tammy, to your point, this particular space with both sides, either side of the street is closed, so there is no vehicular traffic there. Yet the street is.
I hear you.
These cars are parked.
I hear you. Let's
they're like locked
turn
in
it
there.
into a budget request. That's all I'm saying. Turn it into a budget request.
Well, my budget request is that the control and regulation of outdoor seating come back under the control of the community boards. I don't know if that's how you word it, but
I agree that there has to be some enforcement. It's related to enforcement and regulations.
Yeah, I don't know if what I was saying was a budget request. I was just mentioning it then because you started the conversation about the traffic. But these cars are parked there indefinitely. The street's closed and they're there. They are city cars. They are placard cars that are taking up the space that restaurants could and should be using.
That's kind of the point, that one of the things that we want to do is if we can audit the streets, we can really redefine it. So we can look and make giant areas for cargo and giant areas quite frankly, we need to get most of the placards and the agency parking off the streets to the maximum that we can, especially if in the new world of virtual, with people not going in, they don't need all the space they've got.
Well, the city
and you know what? The city should pay for parking. They should support businesses. Exactly. Okay.
The taxpayer.
All right.
Yeah, but I think we have a bigger problem, like Susan said, with this whole new free-for-all with the outside eating because that Ann Street in DeClaudio's, it's a horrible situation because I saw a garbage truck when the street was closed. The garbage truck had to get through and didn't know the street was closed and had to make them open up the street so that the garbage truck could go through Ann Street to pick up the garbage. But that's one little issue. But we're gonna have a whole lot because with
Francis, that's my whole point.
Yeah.
That's my whole point, is that we've had a taste of what it feels like to have, public outdoor seating and to have more bicycles and less cars. But to truly get it done in a way that works, you can't be jamming it in bit by bit by bit. You need a holistic look at it.
It can't be now it's a free-for-all, and it's just like the homeless situation, the shelter stuff. He's just doing things on a whim, and he's not going through the proper process with the communities that are affected by what his decisions are.
You just have to put it in. We can't let anything get by us. That's a piece of it.
Exactly.
Let's move on, because I can't stand till 10 o'clock, please.
I think we're good.
It's getting cold and it's dripping all over my shirt, and I want to take my shirt off, but I can't because of the Zoom.
There you go.
Don't be Jeff.
And I'm not kidding.
Don't be
On
Jeff.
that note, does anybody have anything else? Susan, is there any other work we need to do?
I have
Susan,
a piece of business around licensing and permits, and it goes to terraces and roofs. We passed something in 2019, which when I reread it and I talked to Jeff Ehrlich about it, it made no sense and it was gobbledygook. It wasn't written properly, whenever. The committee gave me the authority to rewrite it and to make it tighter in this day and time around roofs and what we have access to or not. And I don't have to belabor this. I'd like you all to read it. We can bring it up as a new business. I don't know the parliamentary procedure, Tammy, for on voting, but I'd like it to be, it's rewritten, it's clear. There's only one sentence I'm having some trouble with, but it's okay, basically. It's what we have and don't have authority over around licensing and noise and whatever on terraces and roofs. So you can read it, you can text me, but we don't have to deal with it tonight. Everybody can please look at it so that we can be prepared.
How was it sent
out? Jen just sent it out to everybody on our committee, Pat, and it went to the executive committee.
Okay, great, thanks.
All right, so all of you should have copies of it, and it went to the licensing committee meeting.
Does it need to get approved or worked on for Tuesday, or
it doesn't need to get? I don't think it needs to be worked on. I think it needs to be brought up and voted on and reiterated, whatever that parliamentary procedure is. Tammy, I can't hear you. You're muted. You're still muted. Okay.
Patrick, you got a parliamentary ruling? We've already passed a resolution. This is an updating one. So do we need to vote on it in exec, or just can we bring it to full board?
It's basically amended.
Well, all the whereases are not amended, Patrick, but the body, the whereases are amended. The therefore be it resolved, the three of them basically read the same. There's a typo or two in it, but they read the same. So the therefore be it resolved stays the same, but all the whereases just make more sense. It flows.
So I don't understand. It's just more of like a drafting amendment?
It's cleaned up.
Updated language.
Yeah, thank you,
You need to
Mariama.
run it through the executive committee. I think you just bring it to the full board and point out that
Fine.
we cleaned up for clarity a few things, and here it is. And because everyone will get a copy of that ahead of time anyway.
Yeah, but
the substance of it, the sense of the committee is cleared.
Yeah, would you please though read it, Patrick?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, that's cool. All right, Lucian, You still with me?
Yep.
Okay, so we've done. Can I get a call for a vote on the capital and expense budget for year 2022?
Sure.
Question.
Yep, I'll call the question.
I'll second it.
Great. I love when a plan comes together. All right. I am not doing roll call. I am just saying that are there any no's? Are there any abstentions? Are there any recusals? Motion passes. Love it. Okay, that's good news. So I think that's everything. We could do committee reports. If anybody wants to do a committee report, it's 8:55. We've got 5 minutes left. You can be super short by telling me no.
No.
Beautiful.
No.
Then I move to close the meeting.
Tammy, I need you, and just for 3 minutes afterwards, you and
Lucian. Good night.
Lucian, please.
Everybody.
Good night, all.
Okay.
Thanks, Tammy. Bye.
Thank you for the work.
Thank you.
The hard
Can we
work.
stay on with Lucian for a minute?
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Lucian,
Thanks, everybody.
I sent you an email.
Bruce,
Yes.
be quiet.
Oh, sorry.
You have to wait because